Life has a way of testing us when we least expect it. Some days, it feels like the whole world is against you. Dreams delayed, plans falling apart, people letting you down. And the first instinct most of us have, we want to talk about it. We want someone to listen, someone to understand. But here's the cold truth. The world doesn't stop because you're having a bad day. People may nod, they may even say they care, but deep down, everyone is busy carrying their own burdens. Reality check, there comes a moment in life when reality hits you with the kind of force that takes your breath away. It might be the day you lose a job you thought was secure, the moment someone you trusted walks out on you, or the instant when every plan you made seems to collapse at the same time. It feels like the world should pause to acknowledge your pain, like time itself should stop out of respect for what you are going through. But here's the hard truth, it doesn't. The world keeps moving. The sun rises the next morning as if nothing happened. The traffic on the roads is just as noisy. People around you continue with their routines, working, laughing, building their dreams, while you sit there wondering how everything changed so quickly. And at first, it feels unfair. You ask yourself, doesn't anyone care? Doesn't the world see what I'm going through? But the reality is that life is not designed to stop for anyone. It moves at its own speed, indifferent to our struggles. And if we spend too much time waiting for sympathy, we get left behind. That is why understanding this truth is so important. It isn't meant to make you cold or emotionless. It's meant to wake you up. Because the moment you realize that life will keep going no matter what, you stop expecting it to slow down for you. And you start learning how to keep moving even when the ground feels like it's shaking beneath your feet. Look around you. Every single person you meet today has a story you don't know about. Some are carrying heartbreak so heavy they can barely stand. Others are drowning in responsibilities that never seem to end. And yet, they keep going. They wake up, go to work, take care of their families, chase their goals. Why? Because they've realized something many people don't. The world does not reward those who sit still waiting for life to feel sorry for them. It rewards those who keep moving even when their hearts are heavy. And yes, it's hard. Moving forward when you feel like collapsing is one of the hardest things you will ever do. But think about it. What's the alternative? If you stop, if you give in to self-pity, if you wait for someone else to rescue you, life will not pause out of kindness. Opportunities will pass by. Time will slip away. And eventually, the only thing you'll be left with is regret that you didn't keep going when things were tough. This doesn't mean you should ignore your emotions or pretend everything is fine when it's not. It means you learn to process the pain without letting it paralyze you. It means you cry if you need to, but you don't unpack and live there, because life is like a moving train. If you stay at the station too long, waiting for the perfect moment to get on, you'll watch it disappear in the distance, while you're still standing there, wishing you had the courage to move. And the truth is, people respect strength far more than they respond to complaints. They are inspired by the one who takes the hit, feels the pain, and still finds a way to keep going. That's the kind of person others look up to. The one who refuses to be defined by what happened to them, and instead chooses to be defined by what they did next. Why people don't care, one of the hardest truths to accept in life is this: people may listen to your problems, they may not, they may even tell you they understand. But deep down, everyone is fighting a battle you cannot see. It's not that people are heartless or cold. It's not that they want to ignore you. It's simply that life is demanding for everyone. The person you are pouring your heart out to might be dealing with sleepless nights because of financial struggles. The friend you just called might be smiling on the outside, but quietly worrying about a sick parent. The colleague sitting next to you at work might be drowning in anxiety about a future they can't control. And in the middle of all this, when you bring your problems to them, they might feel sympathy, yes, but only for a moment. Because as soon as your conversation ends, they go back to carrying the weight of their own world. This is the part most people don't want to admit. Sympathy is temporary, because life doesn't give anyone the luxury of staying in someone else's pain for too long. We all have bills to pay, families to care for, dreams to chase, and personal demons to fight. That's why no matter how much people say they care, the reality is that after a few minutes they return to their own lives. And that's not cruelty, it's simply human nature. Think about it. How many times have you listened to someone else's problems, felt bad for them, and then moved on with your day because you had your own challenges to face? We all do it. Not because we are bad people, but because life doesn't stop for anyone. It keeps demanding our attention, our energy, our focus. The world never slows down enough for anyone to carry someone else's burden for too long. This is why relying on sympathy is dangerous. It gives you a false sense of comfort, like someone will always be there to hold your hand through the storm. But the truth, people have limits. They might offer a shoulder to cry on today, but tomorrow they might be too busy surviving their own struggles to even pick up the phone. And if you depend on that sympathy for too long, you'll find yourself disappointed, even resentful, wondering why no one seems to be there for you anymore. But here's the reality check: people remember solutions, not problems. They remember the person who fell, got back up, and kept going, not the one who kept repeating their pain to anyone who would listen. When you spend all your energy talking about what went wrong, you stay stuck in the same story. But when you start focusing on fixing things, on moving forward, that's when people take notice. Because results speak louder than words. Imagine two people. One talks endlessly about how life has been unfair, how nothing ever works out, how the world owes them something. The other goes silent for a while, works through the struggle, and then comes back stronger, better, and more determined than ever. Which one inspires you? Which one earns respect? Always the second one. Because strength, not self-pity, is what leaves a lasting impact on people. And this is why you must understand that it's okay if people don't stay invested in your struggles. It's not rejection. It's not cruelty. It's simply life reminding you that at the end of the day, your problems are yours to solve. Your battles are yours to fight, and your victories are yours to create. People might cheer for you when you win, but they cannot walk through the fire for you. That part is yours alone. Complaining this. Action: when life throws challenges at us, the easiest thing to do is complain. It comes naturally. Something goes wrong, plans fall apart, people disappoint us, and the first instinct is to talk about it, to tell someone how unfair life has been, how hard things are, how nobody seems to understand. And at first, it even feels good. Complaining brings a temporary sense of relief because it allows us to release frustration. It feels like we are doing something about the problem when in reality, all we are doing is repeating it over and over again. The danger with complaining is that it tricks the mind. It gives the illusion of progress without creating any. Every time you talk about how bad things are, your brain feels a tiny bit lighter because you've let it out, but nothing in your reality has changed. You are in the same place, facing the same obstacles, except now you've drained even more energy by reliving the problem instead of solving it. Complaining takes what little strength you have left and scatters it, leaving you exhausted, but no closer to a solution. Think about the people you know who always talk about their problems, but never seem to get out of them. They tell the same stories of how life is unfair, how nothing ever works out, how everyone else has it easier. And months, even years later, they are in the exact same situation, because all their energy went into words instead of action. Now compare that to the people who go silent for a while when life hits them hard. They don't waste time telling everyone how bad things are. They gather their strength, they focus on solutions, they work quietly. And then one day you see them standing tall again, stronger than before, with results that speak louder than any complaint ever could. Which one do you want to be? The truth is, complaining often keeps us stuck because it focuses the mind on the problem instead of the possibilities. The more you talk about what's wrong, the bigger it feels. It starts to control your emotions, your thoughts, even your sense of identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who can change things and start seeing yourself as someone life keeps defeating. And that mindset becomes dangerous because the way you see yourself eventually shapes your reality. Action, on the other hand, does the opposite. It shifts your energy from frustration to solutions. Even the smallest step forward brings a sense of progress that complaining never will. You start to feel stronger because you're no longer waiting for someone to fix things for you. You're taking responsibility for your own life. And that feeling of control, no matter how small at first, grows with every action you take. The most successful people in life aren't the ones who never face problems. They're the ones who learned early on that talking about problems doesn't solve them. They felt the same pain, the same frustration. But instead of letting it drown them, they turned it into fuel. They used that energy to think, to plan, to work harder, to refuse to stay in the same place for too long. And the truth is, action doesn't have to be huge at the start. It can be as small as making a list, learning a new skill, saving a little money, reaching out for advice. Not sympathy, but strategies. Every small step taken in the direction of a solution builds momentum. And momentum is what changes lives. Silence is power. There is a certain strength in silence that few people understand until life forces them to learn it. When challenges come, the instinct for most of us is to talk, to share, to let the world know how much we are struggling. We think that if people see our pain, maybe they will understand us better, maybe they will offer help, or at the very least sympathy. But here is the hard truth: the more you talk about your struggles, the more you drain yourself, and the less time you have to actually work on overcoming them. Silence, on the other hand, feels unnatural at first because it requires self-control. It demands that you hold your emotions in check and resist the temptation to announce every difficulty you face. But silence gives you something that talking never can: clarity. When you stop sharing your struggles with everyone around you, you stop hearing unnecessary opinions, judgments, and doubts from people who might not even understand your situation. You create space in your own mind to think clearly, to analyze your problems without the noise of the world telling you what you should or shouldn't do. There is a reason why some of the strongest people you will ever meet are also the quietest about their challenges. They have learned that struggles lose some of their power when they are not constantly spoken about. Talking too much about problems can magnify them, make them feel bigger than they actually are. But when you keep them private, you shrink their hold over you, because now you are not spending energy explaining them to others. You are using that energy to face them directly. Silence also protects you from something people don't talk about enough: the weight of other people's opinions. The moment you start telling everyone about your struggles, you invite all kinds of voices into your life. Some will give advice you didn't ask for. Others will share doubts that make you question yourself even more. And there will always be a few who secretly feel relieved that you are struggling because it makes them feel better about their own lives. When you stay silent, you remove all that unnecessary noise. You give yourself the freedom to struggle without the world watching, without people adding their fears and negativity to your already heavy load. And here's the thing about silence: it doesn't mean isolation. It doesn't mean you never seek help when you truly need it. It means you choose carefully who gets to know about your struggles and when. It means you share only with people who can actually guide you, not just anyone willing to listen. That kind of selective sharing keeps your energy focused on solutions instead of opinions. Silence also teaches patience. When you are not rushing to tell everyone about your difficulties, you give yourself time to process things fully before acting. You think more clearly. You make better decisions. You stop reacting out of panic and start responding with strategy. That shift alone can change the entire direction of your life, because most people fail not because of the problem itself, but because they reacted emotionally instead of acting wisely. And perhaps the most powerful thing about silence is that it allows you to rise without warning anyone first. When you struggle in silence, no one sees the battles you fight behind the scenes. So when you finally succeed, it surprises people. It makes your victory even louder, because now the only story people hear is not about your pain, but about your triumph. Turning pain into fuel, pain is one of life's greatest teachers, though most people never allow themselves to learn from it. When hardships strike, when life feels like it is breaking you into pieces, it is easy to get lost in the hurt and see yourself only as a victim of unfair circumstances. It is easy to believe that pain exists only to make life harder, to steal your joy, to crush your dreams. But the truth is, pain has a purpose if you are willing to see it differently. Every setback, every heartbreak, every sleepless night carries within it the seeds of transformation, the kind of strength you cannot develop in comfort. Pain is not here to destroy you. It is here to build you, to prepare you for a version of yourself you have not yet met. Think about the moments in your life when you grew the most as a person. Was it during times when everything was going smoothly, when life was comfortable, and the path ahead was clear? Or was it during the times when you were pushed to your limits, when you had no choice but to dig deeper, to find strength you didn't even know you had. Almost always, growth comes from the seasons of struggle, not the seasons of ease. Comfort might make life pleasant, but it rarely shapes character. Pain does. The challenge, however, is in how we respond to pain. Some people use it as a reason to stop trying. They let it harden their hearts, make them bitter, make them feel like the world owes them something for all they have suffered. They keep retelling their pain as a story of why they could not succeed, why life was unfair, why nothing ever worked out for them. And the more they tell that story, the more it becomes their identity until they cannot imagine themselves as anything other than a victim of circumstances. But there is another way to respond. Instead of letting pain become your excuse, you can turn it into your energy. You can use it as fuel. You can take the anger, the disappointment, the heartbreak, and let it drive you to build a better life. When someone tells you that you cannot make it, when life knocks you down so hard you wonder if you will ever get up again, you can let that hurt light a fire inside you that pushes you to work harder, to grow stronger, to prove to yourself that this is not how your story will end. Some of the most successful people in the world started with nothing but pain, rejection, poverty, loss, failure. These were the building blocks of their success stories. What made them different was not that they avoided pain, but that they refused to waste it. They decided that if they were going to suffer, then that suffering would not be for nothing. It would be the reason they woke up earlier, pushed themselves harder, learned faster, and refused to quit when things got tough. When you use pain as fuel, it transforms from something that breaks you into something that builds you. It gives meaning to the struggle because now every setback becomes a lesson. Every failure becomes experience, and every wound becomes a reminder of what you had to overcome to become the person you are becoming. Self-reliance builds respect. One of the most powerful truths in life is that people do not admire excuses, they admire resilience. We live in a world where everyone faces challenges. Everyone carries burdens, and everyone has reasons why things are difficult. But what sets people apart is not the size of their problems, it is how they respond to them. When someone faces obstacles and keeps moving forward despite the weight they carry, people notice. They may not always say it out loud, but deep down, respect grows for those who fight their battles with courage rather than complaints. Self-reliance is at the heart of that respect. It does not mean you have to do everything alone or that you can never accept help. It means you take ownership of your life. You stop waiting for someone else to rescue you, and you stop blaming others for why things are not the way you want them to be. You understand that while you cannot control everything that happens to you, you can control how you respond, how you rise, and how you move forward when life tries to hold you back. People naturally look up to those who carry themselves with strength even when life gets heavy. Think about it when you see someone who has gone through loss, failure, or hardship yet refuses to let it define them. Doesn't it inspire you? Doesn't it make you think, if they can keep going, maybe I can too? That is the quiet power of self-reliance. It turns you into a source of inspiration without you even trying, because your actions speak louder than your struggles ever could. On the other hand, excuses weaken respect. When you constantly talk about why you could not succeed, why the world is unfair, why nothing ever works for you, people might feel sympathy at first, but over time, sympathy fades and frustration grows. Because deep down, everyone knows life is hard for all of us. We all have scars. We all have reasons to give up. But the world does not remember those who gave up. It remembers those who refused to quit. Those who decided that no matter how heavy the burden, they would carry it until they reached the other side. And the truth is, relying on others to fix your life rarely works out the way you hope. People can support you, but they cannot fight your battles for you. They have their own lives, their own struggles, their own dreams to chase. That is why the most successful people learn early on that waiting for someone else to solve their problems is a waste of time. They take responsibility for their future because they know no one cares about it as much as they do. Self-reliance builds confidence as well. Every time you solve a problem on your own, every time you get back up after falling, you prove to yourself that you are capable. That inner belief becomes unshakable over time. And the stronger that belief grows, the less you need the approval of others. Because you already know your worth comes from what you overcome, not from what people think about you. People admire that kind of strength They respect the ones who may be quiet about their struggles, but loud in their determination. They respect those who refuse to be defined by the storms they go through, and instead choose to be defined by the courage they show while walking through them. Success speaks for itself. There's a unique kind of power in quiet success, a power that words alone can never match. You can spend hours explaining your struggles, telling people about how hard life has been, describing every obstacle in your path. But at the end of the day, people may nod, they may feel sorry for you, and then they move on with their lives. Your story of pain may touch them for a moment, but it rarely stays with them. What stays, what lingers, what leaves a mark on people's minds is not the story of how hard things were, but the story of how you rose above them. Because when you succeed after silence, when you achieve something that once looked impossible, you no longer need to convince anyone of how difficult the journey was. Your results speak in a language that everyone understands. Think about the people who inspire you the most. Are they the ones who complain the loudest about how unfair life was? Or are they the ones who seem to disappear into the background for a while, only to return stronger, wiser, and victorious? It is always the second group. There is something magnetic about people who fight their battles in private, who let the world wonder what happened to them, and then one day show up with results so undeniable that no one can ignore them. Their success becomes the story, their victory becomes the proof. And the beauty of this approach is that it shifts your energy completely. When you stop talking endlessly about your problems, when you stop seeking validation from others, you free yourself from the weight of their opinions and expectations. You stop performing your pain for an audience that may not even truly care, and you start focusing entirely on the work that needs to be done. That focus creates progress. That progress creates change. And eventually, that change becomes visible in ways words never could. There is also a kind of dignity in fighting silently. It keeps your journey pure. It protects you from people who might secretly doubt you, from those who might discourage you because of their own fears, and from the temptation to exaggerate your struggles just to get sympathy. When you work in silence, you owe nothing to anyone but yourself. Every step you take, every late night, every sacrifice becomes a private investment in your future. And when the results finally come, they speak with a power far louder than any complaint ever could. Because here is the truth: success is universal. It doesn't need translation, it doesn't need justification. When people see someone rise from nothing, when they see someone achieve greatness after walking through storms no one knew about, respect grows naturally. Even those who doubted you, even those who criticized you, are forced to recognize what you have accomplished. You don't have to argue. You don't have to explain. The results do the talking for you. And that is why it is so important to let success be your loudest voice. You don't need to convince the world of your pain. You don't need to prove to anyone how hard it was. All you need to do is keep moving forward, keep working, keep building, until the life you create becomes undeniable proof of what you endured to get there.